And we were discussing that some of the things that affect professional in your position is things like burnout. You're dealing with a lot of people, you're dealing with locations. So it's, I guess it's obviously quite a fast-paced environment.
So with an
Really.
F45 gym, they
Yeah.
all have around 300 to 400 participants or members. And so you can imagine as you're growing and when you're a new business owner, you can handle 50 people that need support. But when
Yeah.
it becomes 100, 150, 200, and then you've got all those little things along the way, they're booking into 5 classes a week each. They all have friends they want to refer. They have changes to their memberships. They're traveling. So these things contributed to what I would call a burnout. Last year, I'm only sleeping 4 to 5 hours and I'd be back at the studio open to close,
Yeah.
home open
Yeah.
to close. I would sleep at my studio. And
Oh,
I
wow.
thought that this was, I had a futon in the back and the staff used to laugh at me because I would sleep there, but it
Right.
actually isn't. This is the first studio and it actually isn't a
It's not
Medal of Honor.
sustainable. Yeah, it's not really
No.
sustainable, is it? Yeah.
No,
Okay.
well, I realize now, not that I have perfected this at all, but I realize now that was a lack of resources and a lack of
Yeah.
planning,
Yeah.
and it was just simply work, work. I still work full time, but
Yeah, of course.
try and be a
But
bit
it's
more normal
efficiency.
about it.
Yeah, it's just a
Mm.
question of efficiency. So let's say that you're speaking to another up and coming gym owner. You've been in the system for a while. You're obviously you're competent, you're well versed. What's the first sort of like advice that you would give them?
Yes, get a good accountant.
Right.
There's
Okay.
we get into this game because we love fitness, we love people, and we love the result. And these are businesses. And when I say good accountant, and I didn't have that until about year 4 of my journey. It's been 9 years
Right.
now. And
Yeah.
so I was fighting blind and so I would say get a really good financial backing. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking spreadsheets by mum and dad, unless your
Yeah.
mum and dad's an
Yeah.
accountant, but I'm
Yeah.
talking a really
Proper,
kick-ass or,
proper, yeah.
really, really great
You know
accountant that
what they're doing and
understands.
everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and I think the most powerful thing to do is to because you might not be a finance person, right? But
Yeah.
get it set up by a finance person, and then you basically work backwards from
Right.
what you need. So the accountant will
Right.
go, if you want to earn this in year 1, then
Yeah.
it's July already, and this is what you should be earning in July. And that guidance and that focus allowed me to get the studio to where it needed to be. When I was just hitting and hoping, I was not performing very well. Mm.
So it's a question of kind of like reverse engineering and sort of like
Yes.
structure and everything like that. So what's your style in terms of leadership? How would you define your kind of style? Some people are autocratic. I don't see you as somebody who's, too autocratic. Some people are a bit laissez-faire. I mean, how would you define your mixture of
Tell
both?
me autocratic so I know where we are.
Right. Autocratic perhaps is a kind of like a kind word for dictatorial.
Okay. So one
In that
person, auto.
context.
I don't have a lovely word like autocratic. I wish I
All right.
did. I would say, okay, look, as a leader,
Yeah.
I believe businesses are ecosystems, just like
Yeah.
a nature ecosystem,
Yeah.
which are
Definitely.
delicate.
Yeah.
So if you introduce something into a real life ecosystem like a weed or something that is toxic, it will kill the ecosystem. So I tend to lead in a way, I do think I lead from the front, like with
Yeah.
culture.
Which is
So I
always
will
the best for
culturally
me.
treat people with respect.
Yeah.
And I
Sure.
like to think of us all as adults. I mean, when I started the studio, all the coaches, we're all the same age,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like me and then I'm hiring a bunch of 16-year-olds.
Younger
Not that
people or
that matters, but we were
yeah.
all similar age
Yeah.
and so we were all adults. We are all adults, and I treat
Yeah.
all of my people as adults, and we're all contractors, so we all work. Essentially, we work for ourselves, and when they're in my ecosystem, they will engage with the rules of my ecosystem.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, look, I've had to become harder. I don't like to
Yeah.
discipline. I'm not really up for that. I would prefer that people manage themselves in a respectful way, but it can happen sometimes. You've got to do what's best for the ecosystem, and I always
Yeah.
will. And I
Definitely.
think anyone who's worked for me or with me I would hope that they would agree that when push comes to shove, if something is going to affect the group, I will do what needs to be done. But so
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know what word I would use for that though.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You've answered it perfectly. So there's a difference between busy and being productive, right? You know, you could be busy doing nothing. You could be
Yep.
sort of like running on the spot and
Mm.
everything like that. So when you look at how you run things now versus how you ran it 3 years ago, what's one of your biggest shifts? What would you say is a definitive shift, or is that a bit of a loaded question?
No, I
How's it?
love it. I love it. I'm
Yeah,
thinking, how can I?
right.
There were many, many shifts.
Okay.
Okay, the biggest shift. Um, there's there's so many people that are good at so many things, and so
Yeah,
I had to stop trying to do everything on my own because I am
yeah,
not, and I heard this, I did not make this up, but if you are the strongest person in your team, you're doing something wrong. So everybody who I are on my team, they do things a lot better than I do in a certain area. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
sure.
I believe a lot of my coaches are, I love coaching and I think I'm a good and a caring coach and an experienced coach, but I've got some coaches on my team that I would be happily coached by, and I'm
Yeah,
really,
sure.
stronger coaches I perceive as being more experienced than me. I've
Yeah,
got people that are really good at social media, for example. They're just
yeah,
absolute gurus. I'm not. And so they are
yeah,
in charge of that. I've got people that
right.
are so many different areas. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
I would say the biggest shift in terms of day to day is applying different strategies to different areas and not trying
Yeah,
to do it all myself, which is
right.
also an ego thing because
Yeah, it is.
I
It
can do
is.
that. I can do that.
Yeah,
And I will say this, and I hope I don't get my head chopped. But I think that one of the things I notice, and I can only say this because it was me,
yeah,
people who are young in business, as in when they're new to business, they don't have to be young personally, but well, I was like this too. They think they can do it with very little resources, just
yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
And so I always notice when someone is very new because they are not spending on some really important stuff.
yeah,
But that's okay. I'm not digging. I'm just saying it's actually, and then there's a barrier there. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
when I started to open up, and that's why having the accountant was amazing.
yeah,
We
sure.
strategized like if you want to get to here, you actually need to invest on that bit, and that will
Yeah,
push you. Where you don't, and say you're paying, some service that you just don't really need, or you're not paying for something that you need, then that will stunt your growth. Yeah,
a lot of responsibility there, Annie. You've got a lot
yeah.
of sort of like spinning plates and this and that. If you had a magic wand, okay, obviously you've been through a journey, you've started, some years back. So where do you see yourself or your studio in the magic wand question in like 2 or 3 years' time?
Yeah, I see the studio is still developing in terms of its systems and processes. So where do I see it? It's a key element in the community. F45s are like glue in the community. And so I see them being more integrated. Also offering services to certain types of groups, like people who are less able-bodied. I would love to
Right.
have them in my studio.
Yeah.
At the
Excellent.
moment, it's not accessible. It's only
Right.
accessible to people who can lift the weight. But what if
Yeah.
we had classes in here for less able people? What if
Yeah.
we had
Sure.
classes for elderly people or
Yeah.
young people?
Yeah.
So I
Sure.
see this expanding to not just 25 to 45 or 55 in this studio's
Yeah.
case. That is the group that we focus on and that we cater to. So I see this functional training as something that is more accessible. We're
Yeah.
more ingrained in the community than we already
Fantastic.
are.
Fantastic.
I've already got a lot of local business owners that train down here, and that's important because the local business owners are the ones who are employing
Yeah.
50 to 100 people themselves. So we've
Yeah.
got the real juice of the community.
Definitely.
Uh, and that's not saying only business owners are that, but we've got a lot of local people down here training. So I just see
Yeah.
that getting stronger and local partnerships involved as well,
Excellent.
and being more accessible.
Brilliant. Thank you, Annie. So we've had a great, so like 15, 20-minute chat. I think there's a lot of, so I just want to say to the audience, get down to F45, take out a program, get fit, have fun getting fit. And hopefully, well, I'm sure Annie and her very able and competent coaches will also like take you through the works. Okay. Well, Annie, thank you so much for your time. It's great to speak to you, and we'll talk very soon. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.